I always say that I live on watermelon during the summertime, so it seemed appropriate to make this cute little watermelon wall hanging. I've wanted to design a watermelon quilt for a long time, and I finally found a simple way to make a watermelon block. I turned it into this little wall hanging, but you can use this method to make a quilt of any size. It's really fun and simple. So let me show you what you need to make it. So to make this, I used all Kona solids. You're going to need 3/4 of a yard of your background, a 1/2 yard of your pink, this is called watermelon, a 1/4 yard of green, I used fern, and a 1/4 yard of your black. You could also just use a spare charm pack if you have one lying around. You don't need much, it's just for the seeds. And then you'll need some of our Missouri Star So Light Fusible and 1 yard of backing fabric. Okay, so this quilt is really simple. It's made up of essentially 2 blocks, and let's dive into the first one. So you are going to take your pink fabric and your background fabric, and you are going to cut it into 5-inch squares. So I have one of each of these here. And I'm going to go ahead and stack those up, and then I am going to cut this in half on the diagonal. So I'm just going to use my little ruler here and lay this point to point and cut it just like so. And so this is actually now going to make 2 blocks, and we can set in between these a 2-inch by 8-inch rectangle of our green. And so I am going to fold this in half and finger press to find that center line. And then I'm going to do the same with my triangles. Just make sure they're nice and straight. And then I'm going to open this up and set this right on that finger press line and take this to the machine and stitch it with a 1/4 inch seam. There we go. Once we have that first one done, we can roll it back. And if you need to remark that center line, you can. You just want to make sure that it's all lined up. And now we'll put our white on the opposite side. Sew that down as well. All right, now we can press that one back. And now we can bring this back over, and we are going to square this up to 5 1/2. So let me grab a square ruler. And I like to always kind of start with this as straight on my mat as I can. And I'm going to begin by just barely trimming this first side. I'm actually going to rotate this just for my brain, because I want to make sure this is my 5 1/2 line that I'm looking at here. And I do want to make sure I can trim both sides a little bit. So that's what I'm watching for. So we're just going to square this up. And now I can rotate this since I'm right-handed, and I can have this line up right on that 5 1/2 that I was looking for. And we can just shave this little bit off. So not much trimming at all. And then this is how your block looks when it is all done. So you can see some of these I just included plain, and some of these we're going to add to block 2 to make our larger wedges. So let's set these aside and we can dive into making block 2. So to do that, you are going to need a 4 1/2-inch strip of your pink and a 1 1/2-inch strip of your green. And we are going to sew these together in a strip set. So let's bring this over to the machine. I'm just going to line it up and go all the way down one side. Just take your time and make sure it stays lined up as you go. And don't pull on it because that's what causes kind of warping of your strips. All right, and now we can press our green back all the way down the length of the strip. Just roll that back. Keep moving down. All right, there we go. Now we have our strip set complete. And I know this is going to be so surprising, but all we need to do now is trim this down. It should measure 5.5 inches tall. And so we are going to cut these into 5.5-inch blocks. So I'm just going to line this up along my cutting mat and work my way across. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. And we'll just keep going all the way down the strip. All right, I have that all trimmed, and depending on the width of your strip, whatever brand of fabric you use, it will vary slightly how many you can get, but I was able to get 8 of these blocks out of my strip set. So just keep that in mind as you're designing. And so now we can set these together in different ways. So we can add our wedges to either side. We can even make our slice longer. And you can see that's all I did in the quilt behind me is I just added different elements, but we need that one final detail of the seeds. And so let me show you how we did that. So I just used a little square of our So Light Fusible and some spare charm packs that I had lying around, and I'm just going to iron this to the back. Just like so. And now we actually did include in the pattern some fun different little heart shapes that you can use as a template if you want, and you would trace those on to your fusible before you iron it down. But I will show you what I did. Let me grab my scissors. So I actually just folded little chunks of my fabric like this, and I just kind of worked my way across and just cut out little hearts. I just free-handed it, and it was fun. So just like so, and they can be different sizes depending on how big your wedge is. But hearts are pretty easy to cut out. And so I just did little heart shapes for the seeds. There we go. And so now I will add a few to this one. I've already peeled the paper backing off of these little guys. But let me show you if you're not familiar. It's just really easy. You peel off the paper and it just leaves that adhesive behind. And then we can add a few of these seeds to our little wedge. Just like so. We can go iron that down. So I'll take that over here to the ironing board, give it a press with a nice hot iron. And then if you want to, you can go back and secure these down with just some black thread with a few straight stitches. I wouldn't do anything crazy like try to outline them. Just tack them down, make sure they'll stay there if you throw it in the wash. But I don't mind them fraying a little bit and having a little bit of personality, and I think it turned out great in the finished project. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on this quick and easy watermelon wall hanging. Hey everyone, it's Misty. Thanks for watching at home. If you aren't already a part of our Missouri Star family, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell if you want a notification every time we release a new video. I'll see you next Monday on the newest episode of At Home.